TGC Requiem here. We're back with another Sultai control video. This is again from a competitive league. Had some really good close matches in the competitive league. Didn't unfortunately cash out in the league, but again had some really good matches, and so just wanted to show some of them. It's not all about showing the matches where you win, just kind of hoping to show what the deck can do, what it's capable of. We win the die roll here. I like this hand. Good interaction. We're just going to kind of hope. We're really going to hope. This is tough. These are the sort of hands where there are a bunch of decks out there. This hand is probably going to be terrible against a combo deck. But I think the majority of the decks are creature decks, and so this is a good hand to keep. Opponent mulligans down to 4, so that makes you feel good. Kind of makes me think combo too. That's not necessarily true, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the combo decks are more likely to mulligan that hard, and so we just open up with a fetch. Memnite, Affinity. So it is totally common to see Affinity mulligan down to hands like this. We're just going to go get a breeding pool, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And here we can play Watery Grave and Serum Visions. I think that's probably the right play. Yeah, in fact, we don't even Fatal Push here. I don't think we need all these lands. It's possible we keep one, but we already have Cryptic Command mana. I actually bet we put both of these to the bottom. No, so we do leave the fetch on top, and that's fine, especially considering we have the stuff to handle. What we're trying to get to by leaving the one fetch on top is that we're trying to get to a point where we can snap back Cryptic Commands. So opponent just fires up Blinkmoth Nexus with a Darksteel Citadel and attacks. And we're fine with that. We have plenty of life to give at this rate. I think we're just going to go with Rainforest there. We have Fatal Push for his land if he activates that. He actually goes for Master of Ethereum. So Master of Ethereum is pretty good, but I'm just trying to think. We probably can Abrupt Decay it here because it's 3 CMC and then crack sideways. I almost wonder if it's better. Yeah, no, I think we want to hold the Fatal Push for the Blinkmoth Nexus. So I think we end up just end-stepping. Actually, no, because he's getting an extra point of damage in, we're just going to Abrupt Decay right here. And then we'll just probably fetch for an Overgrown Tomb, though you need to be a little aware of Blood Moon in this matchup. Not usually in the main deck, though. So here we can play probably a Drowned Catacomb. We can hold that up. It doesn't really matter at this point. So we have access to Cryptic, Abrupt Decay, Fatal Push, and Counter Squall. Really, we're holding Counter Squall. Yeah, we're still not worried about the 1 damage. Counter Squall for Cranial Plating, Abrupt Decay for Cranial Plating. Cryptic Command if he tried to go for like a Etch Champion or something like that. So opponent goes Vault Scourge, and I think, again, we're still just not concerned. Drowned Catacomb, we're just trying to save our mana for the threats that matter. So he activates Blinkmoth, and here we'll take the opportunity to Fatal Push that. Just trying to draw into give ourselves some time to draw into a creature. Opponent, doesn't have much in hand. Thought Scour is excellent here. Just get into another Thought Scour, but we're not going to fire that off yet. Maybe at opponent's end step. And here comes that champion. This is why we were holding our mana up. So we can Abrupt Decay, and I think we may even just tap his team here. Just give ourselves another draw step. We're looking at 2 damage. It's starting to get a little lower. Draw a Swamp. I'm going to go with another Thought Scour. Snapcaster Mage. So now we're also in position where we can Snapcaster Cryptic next turn. So Inkmoth. Opponent still has 1 card in hand. We weren't really super stressed there because Inkmoth is dealing infect damage. I mean, we're still only looking at 2 damage. So now we got Fatal Push, which could handle the Inkmoth, but I mean, frankly, at this point, I'm not really concerned about infect damage. I'd be more concerned with the Vault Scourge. So just because the Vault Scourge might put him in a situation where he has enough life to maybe eventually race us or something. So here we are going to Fatal Push the Vault Scourge. So now the attack is for 1. Opponent plays an Ornithopter, and here I think it's possible that we consider Snap Fatal Pushing the Inkmoth, though holding up the extra Cryptic could be good. Yeah, so we go Snap, yep, Fatal Push, and I'm assuming we Fatal Push the Inkmoth, though it's possible we Fatal Push the Memnite. No, yeah, definitely get rid of the land, the effect, and the reason there is all of a sudden if he somehow sneaks a Cranial Plating on that, that's a lot of infect really fast. So now we can hold Memnite backed with Snapcaster, but I think we just start to put pressure on him because frankly we know we are way ahead on board. Again, 1 damage, not really concerning. We still have the Abrupt Decay, but there's really no point in using it. Not a lot of threats that you really have to be worried about for holding up a fetch land to Fatal Push. Obviously we saw the Master of Ethereum Etched Champion, you're usually not going to be able to target anyway. And again, we're just going to... Okay, so at this point I've decided 7 life is too low. We got to be worried about potentially Galvanic Blast, or something like that. And so we've kind of stopped at 7 here. We've got our counter magic. We're now willing to trade off our Snapcaster for the Memnite. We know we have bigger threats coming. Mox Opal is not really a concern. He already has Glimmer Void, so I mean, again, we're not concerned about him getting a Mox Opal. He already had access to colored mana. Spire of Industry also gave him colored mana. Alright, so here we hit our Tasigur. Here's one of the threats that we were waiting for. So we're obviously taking Go for the Throat out since it can't do anything, the Thought Scours, and just trying to leave otherwise good cards that Tasigur can return to hand. We have 7 mana up, so we're going to still just wait to the opponent's end step before we... Alright, so opponent goes for Seal Overseer. We're totally fine with that since we can Abrupt Decay it. I think we're going to first just... Yeah, I was going to say, I thought we might Tasigur first to see what card we get back, but I'm assuming the opponent's going to give us a Spell Snare here, and they give us Serum Visions, and so that kind of leads me to believe that they are holding on to a Cranial Plating and just they've been waiting and waiting for a window to to cast it. Haven't gotten it. So we're going to go ahead and attack with Tasigur. There's no point for him to trade off his Ornithopters yet. Grim Flare Tasker, so we're going to put Tasker on the bottom, Flare on top. That's another way to help us close out this game. We got double Cryptic. So Arcbound Ravager, so that's actually why he held off the Spell Snare. So this is one of the threats that we are holding up these Cryptics to counter. Draw a card, there's our Grim Flare. We do have the... So we actually do have a window here. If you were to cast another creature, we don't have triple blue. Probably could have tapped my mana better before. Not a whole lot going on here. Opponent plays another Glimmer Void. So we get, I think, another spell, or Serum Visions back, which again makes me think he still probably has a Cranial Plating or another Arcbound Ravager. Liliana is an excellent draw here. But at the same, I guess excellent is all in perspective. We don't need her. The game's pretty much closed out at this point. Save him resolving a cranial plating and getting in. We definitely pitched the Go for the Throat. Can't do anything against artifact creatures. Those will be the first to come out of the sideboard. And then Grim Flare on top with the Snapcaster on top of that. We now Serum Visions, getting the Snapcaster, Rainforest on the bottom, Flare on top. And so now we don't even have to Cryptic. We have Snap Cryptic, and we just let this resolve. End step, we're going to tap the opponent's creatures down. First we return a card to hand. Opponent gives us another Serum Visions. And actually here, instead, so we don't actually need to Cryptic tap our opponent down here. We just snap Fatal Push. Kill the Mem Knight. And then Flare is going to get 2 damage in, and one of our creatures is going to get the other 2 damage in. We also activate Tar Pit in case he has removal. And bit of a grind fest again. The opponent had mulligan to 4. We had the right hand for the matchup for sure. He did in fact have a Galvanic Blast. And we just counter squall that, and that's the game. So we get game 1. Let's move on to game 2 here. Looking at the sideboard, so I pulled the Thought Scour. That's probably a mistake, I think, going back. Pulled the Thought Scour, pulled the Go for the Throat, pulled the Tarmogoyfs. So we pulled 6, 7, 8, 9 cards. I also think Bitter Blossom's good in the matchup. I didn't bring him in here because we were on the draw. I still think it's probably better to have it just because the way they beat you is when you don't quite have the removal to handle their flyers, and so Bitter Blossom is just another way to keep blockers in the way. Probably better to play Thought Scour and maybe less Serum Visions. Again, similar to Burn, you just got to kind of have the right cards. Serum Visions is a little slow, but Thought Scour really turns on your Snapcaster mages by putting removal into the graveyard that you can snap back. So probably a little bit of a mistake here, but what we probably brought in then would have been 2 negates just to help counter Cranial Platings, Blood Moon, which we would expect. Collective Brutality, extra removal to replace the Go for the Throats, an Abrupt Decay, and 2 Fulminator Mages. and 1 Liliana, the Last Hope, and the Knight of Soul's Betrayal. So that would have actually been, what, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep, so those would have been the cards we brought in. Um, Obviously, I didn't bring in Bitter Blossom along with Knight of Soul's Betrayal. Usually I'll do one or the other. Just kind of depends on what we see. I do actually think, going back and looking at the fact that the opponent is also playing Master of Ethereum, that Bitter Blossom would have been better than Knight of Soul's Betrayal here. So, all right, let's get on to game 2. I think I keep this, and I think it's a bad idea. Serum Visions, we have Counter Squall, Snapcaster. We really have the ability to grind out a longer game, but yeah, so the opponent kept 7. I feel like once your opponent keeps 7 and you know they're on Affinity, this is not good enough. You need to be able to interact fast. And so playing your first turn as a Serum Visions to hope you draw your second land so that you can maybe counter squall against a probably creature heavy deck, not really worth it. Probably the reason that I kept it was I got a little blinded by Grimflayer. Grimflayer is a really good card in the matchup. Part of the reason why I can take Tarmogoyf out, Grimflayer can trample over and filter your draws really well. Again, I think I keep this, and I think it's a terrible keep, looking back at this. I probably deserve to lose this game. Glimmervoid, Opal, Signal Pest. So, somewhat mild, though Signal Pest is a bit of a problem. It's not a flyer itself, but can't be blocked except for creatures who have flying or reach, but really just turns all the other creatures into threats. So we draw yet a third Serum Visions. Terrible. So going blue-black here. No, we go blue-green. So yeah, I guess so the reason we probably go blue-green here, again, potentially looking for Grimflayer, we're more likely to draw a black source than a green source. So far, you can tell I'm not really happy with how this this game's starting out on my side. So we put, I think it was a Grimflayer, we put that on the bottom, and then keep the Misty on top. But unfortunately, again, we're sitting in a situation here where, sure, we have access to our 3 mana now, but we don't have any interaction. Plays a Vault Scourge. Again, pretty mild turn 2 here. Giving us some time to get into this game. So I think here, what we need to do is play Grimflayer. We do. Okay. So it's possible we could have gone Serum Visions there, and maybe this is a mistake going with the Grimflayer. I feel like you got to turn on your Grimflayer to get your. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take that back. I don't think we should have done anything there. What we are really weak to right now is a Cranial Plating or an Arcbound Ravager. Or heck, even a Netch Champion. If he plays another land in a Netch Champion, our Grimflayer can't even attack and get us what we need anyway. I think it probably would have been better to hold the Counter Squall up. If he goes for like a Cranial Plating, you know, we have protection against that. The next turn we can Serum Visions, you know, start to maybe claw ourselves back into this. Not that we're like super far behind yet, but we just opened the window for the opponent if they have a Cranial Plating to take it to us. Steel Overseer. Okay, so We get away with one. Gotta negate. I think I like fetching there before attacks, because we're probably going to use a Serum Visions based on what we set up. So, I don't know. I guess that's okay. You could still fetch away. The problem is if you really like what you see, you're probably going to need a Serum, or yeah. So I think Grimflayer probably goes to the bottom, or the graveyard rather. It's going to help turn it on. We already have 2 Snapcasters, so that could probably go to the graveyard. Though we keep it on top. Why? Yeah, so I don't think we needed to keep Snapcaster on top. I think at that point Snapcaster needs to go to the graveyard. Oh, so okay. The plan here, it's fine because we're going to Serum Visions and then fetch away the Snapcaster. That makes sense. So we get our Abrupt Decay. We put both on top because it doesn't matter. We are now fetching the Rainforest to Abrupt Decay. We do this again because we want to get rid of the Steel Overseer. Opponent didn't play a Cranial Plating last turn. We're going to hope he fades one this turn. Grimflayer is now a 4/4. Fortunately, he hits the Cranial Plating. We're still kind of okay at this point if we were to draw a land right here, because now we have Snapcaster, Abrupt Decay. So I think we're probably looking at maybe... So we can hold up Counter Squall, but at this point I'm not really worried. The Cranial Plating is the problem. I think we probably Serum Visions, hoping to hit an Abrupt Decay, and if we don't, maybe just cast a Tasigur. Again, we can start to filter that and hope to set up an Abrupt Decay on top with Serum Visions. Unfortunately, we don't need a negate. We don't need a Serum Visions. I don't think we need Liliana either, for that matter. She would be really good, but we don't have a second black source anyway. And getting that second black source is more important than holding on to her. Yeah, so we end up pitching all of those, and then I think we're Serum Visioning here, just hoping to hit one. Hit land. That would have made Liliana really pretty good. But we're going to put the lands on the bottom. And then we're going to fetch probably for... We should get a Watery Grave, but we get a Swamp. So the concern here is Cranial Plating is going to end this game really fast. I still think we should have gone for a Watery Grave there. We just drew ourselves out of a top deck Cryptic Command from doing anything for us. We would have put ourselves down to 7, but the opponent would have attacked for, well, let's think about this actually. If he puts the Cranial Plating on the Vault Scourge, he's going to attack for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Would have put us down to 1, but Cryptic Command could have bought us the time to close the game, especially if we end up attacking with Grimflayer and Tasigur here. So I think we really should have gotten... Granted, he has 4 cards in hand. He almost certainly would have been able to get another artifact down. So actually, probably correct to try and save the life to give ourselves an extra turn. Again, we've made so many mistakes so far that it's almost too late. The problem we run into here is the opponent's put us down to 2 now. And even if we Snapcaster the plating, we can't block the opponent. So we really need to kill creatures. And so actually, what do we do here? I think we're just going to lead off with attacking, hoping our opponent blocks, which is extraordinarily unlikely. We have Liliana, which would be really good. Too late, though. Brutality and Push on top are excellent. However, it's almost too little too late. We put Brutality on top, hoping, okay, we could gain some life next turn. But essentially what I'm kind of failing to realize at this point is we're already dead. We can Abrupt Decay Vault Scourge with Snapcaster, or we can Abrupt Decay Cranial Plating. The opponent's still attacking for 2. Even if he doesn't re-equip the Cranial Plating, the other Vault Scourge is going to attack for 2 because of Signal Pest Battlecry. So, again, we have the cards to deal with this matchup. We just really kept a bad hand. So here I'm thinking, well, we'll let him go to combat. After combat, we'll snap kill the Scourge. But then I realized the Battlecry gives his other Scourge +2, or +1, and so I think I don't even know if I end up casting the Abrupt Decay. Yeah, I realize at that point it doesn't matter. So we were hoping at that point Liliana was going to maybe buy us the extra time we needed. But alas, we lose. So let's go to game 3. Game 3 was a good one. Again, I think we have the right cards, just didn't quite make a good decision on the keep, and even some of the choices after the keep. Even, like I said, the choices in sideboarding. Now we didn't make any changes. We didn't make any changes again from what we had made before. I still think, it's possible. I would rather keep 2 Thought Scour in and pull 2 Serum Visions, and I think I would prefer Bitter Blossom to Liliana. Sorry, not Liliana, but Knight of Souls Betrayal in this particular matchup, especially with the Master of Ethereum. So game 3 here. Not good enough. We're going to have to mulligan this. Oh, actually, I apologize. We actually have 2 lands here. I was thinking we just had 1. This is actually an excellent opening hand. We have Abrupt Decay, Fatal Push, Flare, Snapcaster to recur some of that removal. I like it. We are weak to a Blood Moon. Opponent opens Darksteel into Vault Scourge, Opal, Signal Pest. And I think we kill the Vault Scourge, and I think, looking back, I actually would probably rather kill the Signal Pest. But we have time, so Fulminator Mage is pretty good. Now we have Abrupt Decay. Might have been worth targeting the Opal there. He could have got us right then with Blood Moon. So we're going to unstep Abrupt Decay this Steel Overseer. Looking for a 3rd land. Yeah. Now the problem here is we can Fulminator Mage, but he actually happened to draw 2 Darksteel Citadels. Fulminator Mage really not that great as of right now, so it's probably better just to keep up Snapcaster Fatal Push, or to throw down a Grimflayer. So Grimflayer really helps us filter and get into good card selection. Opponent hits Cranial Plating, sticks it on the Signal Pest. And this is why I was thinking it would have been better to hold up Snapcaster, and maybe this is just me remembering this happening to me. So I do like Grimflayer getting down, but there really isn't much of a threat on board right now. And so being able to, if he goes and makes that play and spends all his mana on that, to be able to kill that creature, have a Snapcaster on board, and then get a Grimflayer down the next turn, you're starting to put pressure on them where their creatures don't have haste and yada yada yada. So he gets in, attacks for 5. All of a sudden we're on a 3-turn clock. Now we do have Snapcaster, Fatal Push the next turn, so could be worse. Another Grimflayer, but at this point we really need to get snappy. So we're going to attack with Grimflayer here, hopefully set up a nice draw. Liliana actually looks superb in this situation. I think Cryptic Command is going to probably just need to go to the graveyard. It's possible we leave Serum Visions on top after Liliana, but Liliana, if we can get rid of the Signal Pest, this is like recurring removal at this point. So yeah, Cryptic goes to the bottom. Serum Vision's actually okay, makes sense. Trying to get Grimflayer to a 4/4, throwing Serum Visions in there is a good idea. We have the potential of turning Flare into a 4/4 by Fulminator Maging, and sacking it to blow up as Glimmer Void, so all reasonable. Plan here is definitely to Snapcaster and then kill the Signal Pest. Unfortunately, our opponent had Spell Pierce. So we go down to 4. And then the opponent throws down Girapur Aether Grid. Tap 2 untapped artifacts you control. Girapur Aether Grid deals 1 damage to target creature player. So that is problematic. Right now he has 2 Darksteel Citadel, Mox Opal, Cranial Plating, and Signal Pest. We plan to kill the Signal Pest the next turn, but he has us on a 2-turn clock, and right now we're doing not enough damage. Really looking for maybe an Abrupt Decay, but we know we have Liliana coming. So we definitely get Liliana down, kill his artifact, and get in for whatever damage we can. Bunch of lands. So I actually throw all of these to the graveyard. And I have to. Essentially, Snap Abrupt Decay would really save us here, but we don't have time to draw Snapcaster and a land, so we end up throwing all the lands to the graveyard. I think the only other thing I can think of was that we're possibly considering Cryptic Command to bounce the Aether Grid, but I don't think that actually helps us. So here he plays another Cranial Plating, and by doing that he still has 2 damage off of the Aether Grid. He actually uses the Aether Grid to kill the Snapcaster Mage. Makes me kind of wish I'd kept a land on top. I just assumed he would go straight for the face. I mean, we actually have the line now of Liliana to return Snapcaster Mage, and then Snapcaster Mage Abrupt Decay if we top deck a land now. And he does the other point of damage to us. Fortunately, we top deck a Counter Squall. Cryptic, Misty, Tasigur. Our opponent can do 1, 2 points of damage, 3 points if he draws or has the ability to play another artifact. I think it probably makes the most sense here to leave Misty Rainforest on top. As Misty Rainforest, so we could hold up Counter Squall if his... And honestly, I would like all of these cards. But we don't really need Tasigur. In fact, if that were the plan, to leave the Misty Rainforest on top and hope to return the Snapcaster, we'd want another creature in the graveyard to make our Flayer big enough to still trample over. And we have another Flayer in hand, so I actually pitched the Rainforest. Looking back at this is a fairly decent misplay. Just based on where the game is, it would have made more sense to pitch the Tasigur and keep the Rainforest on top. No, you know what? Actually, it doesn't matter. We really need to put all three in the bin, because he still can do 2 damage to us. We wouldn't be able to crack the Rainforest. So I think it's possible we keep Tasigur, but really, at this point, we just need to put everything into the graveyard and hope for a land. And so that is actually what we come to decision-wise, and then we just got to hold up. Do I really play the Fulminator Mage here? Please tell me I don't. Yeah, so I start to play the Fulminator Mage, and then I realize, well, no, killing the Glimmer Void isn't really going to do anything worthwhile. So then I decide I'm going to play the Grim Flayer, because I'm an idiot. No, I don't know. So there's two lines of thinking here. One is the opponent just has a land, and he draws another land. He can't kill us with Gear per Aether Grid where he is right now, so Grim Flayer will end the game. Or Grim Flayer. So yeah, so let me think that back. So he has enough to do 2 damage to us. If he gets land, the Grim Flayers close the game out. We would still have to draw a basic land to be able to recur Snapcaster and Snapcaster Abrupt Decay. So it is possible he draws a counter, or like an artifact or Galvanic Blast, and Counter Squall can win the game here. By countering that, and then we draw that basic. But that means that the opponent would have to play a non-creature spell, and we'd have to draw a basic land. And so I think the line here is you draw the Grim Flayer, you hope he just hits a land, and you hope that you're able to close out before he can. So opponent gets a creature, there's nothing we would have been able to do anyway, and so he's actually able to tap Gear per Aether Grid to do 3 damage, and we concede at that point. So, if for what it's worth, I think we would have lost earlier if our opponent had just gone right at us instead of killing the Snapcaster Mage. If I would have expected that in any manner, I would have kept one of these lands on top, as we would have then been able to snap Abrupt Decay the Aether Grid and probably run away with the game from there. But sometimes it's just the way it works out. So we lose this match 1-2. Close ones. I think we have the tools to fight this matchup. I think I'm just 1-1 or something like that. 1-2 maybe overall in matches against Affinity so far. But I've been kind of working on, the sideboard, and I think it's really a matter of, just making sure that you're keeping good enough hands. Cryptic Command while great for tapping your opponent down, maybe isn't even necessarily, again, if we look at the sideboard, isn't necessarily the way we want to be approaching it. You know, I don't think we want to bring in dispels, but even if we were to just cut a couple, say we were to cut one Cryptic Command and the Knight of Souls Betrayal to get the 2 Bitter Blossoms in, and like I said, maybe cut one Thought Scour, keeping 2 Serum Visions or something like that. The you have more early interaction, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. And really, you have some better draws. Again, I pulled Tarmogoyf just because Tarmogoyf, sometimes it can threaten to close fast, which is good, but it can't block any of their flyers, and rarely are they threatening you with ground creatures. And usually they have enough creatures to make Tarmogoyf's attacks almost useless anyway. So I definitely think it's better to have Bitter Blossom and Fulminator Mages in than the Tarmogoyfs. But anyway, I think that's it for this match. Unfortunately, we did go down on this one, but I really feel like this is a better matchup than it really played out. I think with some maybe more thoughtful play and better decisions on when to mulligan, you might be slightly favored in this one. So thanks for watching.